Ms. Lyons. Hi. If you are reading this, then they killed me. I wanted to tell you that I enjoyed talking to you. You seem like a really great lady. I'm sorry we didn't meet under different circumstances. Thank you for your kindness. Have a wonderful day. Letter from Death Row Inmate Robert Colson, June 25th, 2002. Early one morning in April, Michelle Lyons pulled up outside her daughter's elementary school in Huntsville, 70 miles north of Houston. Set deep in the piney woods, Huntsville, which is home to no fewer than 5 prisons, is a company town whose primary industry is confinement. Many parents who were dropping their children off at school that day worked for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Huntsville's largest employer. Michelle, who sat behind the wheel of her blue Chevy sedan, nursing a travel mug of coffee, had worked for TDCJ herself for more than a decade. She had been the public face of the agency, a disarmingly friendly, upbeat spokesperson for the biggest prison system in the nation. Though she had left the position 2 years earlier, she was still well known around town, and several mothers waved as her car idled in the drop-off line. "Have a beautiful day," she murmured when her 9-year-old leaned in to kiss her goodbye. When Michelle first went to work for TDCJ in 2001, she had begun each weekday morning by driving into town past the picturesque courthouse square and toward the Walls Unit, the 165-year-old penitentiary that is Huntsville's most iconic landmark. The prison, whose ramparts measure more than 30 feet high, is a colossal, foreboding structure crowned by razor wire, a 2-block-long red brick fortress that houses the most active death chamber in the country. Michelle's office occupied a corner of an administrative building directly across the street from the walls, and one of the requirements of her job as a public information officer had been to attend every execution the state carried out. She had also attended executions for her previous job, as a reporter covering prisons for the hometown newspaper, the Huntsville Item. Michelle spent many evenings, hundreds in fact, standing shoulder to shoulder with witnesses in a cramped room that afforded a view of the death chamber, where she watched as men, and 2 women, were injected with a 3-drug cocktail that stopped their hearts. All told, she had seen 278 inmates put to death. As Michelle pulled away from the school, she headed out of Huntsville, toward Interstate 45 and her new job more than an hour's drive away in downtown Houston. She cracked her window, grateful for the cool air on her face. Mornings, when her commute offered time to think back on everything she had seen at the walls, were the hardest. She was flooded with memories from her time inside the death house, of the conversations she had shared with particular inmates in the hours before they were strapped to the gurney, of the mothers dressed in their Sunday best who had turned out to attend their sons' executions, of the victims' families, their faces hardened with grief, of the sudden stillness that came over the prisoners soon after the lethal drugs entered their bloodstreams. She could still see some of these men, their chests expanding, their chins stiffening as they took their last breaths. These memories intruded with such frequency that Michelle no longer tried to push them out of her mind. Instead, she had started recording voice memos, letting her thoughts unspool as she drove alone in the car. She kept one eye on the road that morning as she rummaged through her purse for her iPhone, finally fishing it out and holding the microphone up to her mouth. "I support the death penalty," she began. "I believe that there are some crimes that are so heinous that the only way you can truly pay your debt to society is with your life." She spoke with the same deliberation she had used when addressing reporters outside the walls after her high-profile executions. "But in other cases, I feel very conflicted," she added. "There are men I watched die that I don't think should have." A piece of folk art she had picked up on a trip to Austin, an evil eye charm to ward off bad spirits, bobbed from her rearview mirror. I thought being away from the prison system would make me think about it less, but it's been quite the opposite," she continued. "I think about it all the time."